Hi, it's Sunday morning, and most of us are struggling to be awake because we've been partying at Temple Festival, which is going on right now. And if you don't know about Temple, you need to waste some hours watching some damn fine acts, hanging out with some damn fun people. It's Sunday morning, and welcome to the Art of Rock, and we're going to talk about rock and roll. Walter is in the house, and so is Vince, and so is Eric. You're looking good. Okay, firstly, this happens every week. Same time, same channel, here on Angel Spit's Twitch. It would be mind-blowing if you would join us, because Twitch is love. It's not really. It just pretends to be love. Because Bizo is not love. Bizo is an awful man who did not invent the ability for a rocket ship to land that way down, so fuck that guy. Secondly, this is brought to you by the amazing people on Angel Spit's Patreon. These people here, these people help me torment you. And that's what it's all about, is tormenting. Right? Right. Angel Spit has a whole bunch of new merch. It's here, and it's crazy, and you need to clothe your naked flesh with it, because God won't let you into Kingdom of Heaven with that naked flesh, because you're sinful. Fucker. Angel Spit's Bandcamp is always here. You can download crap from it. Tonight, Crunkhouse will be available for free, because we're playing Temple, and while we're playing Temple, Crunkhouse will be available for free. More on Temple right now. Angel Spit's playing at 8 p.m. LA time tonight. It's the 15-year anniversary of Crunkhouse. Today, 15 years ago, we released Crunkhouse. And tonight, I am doing a Crunkhouse major. Most of the tracks are from Crunkhouse. And like I said, I will be... the album is available for free from Bandcamp while it's being streamed tonight. And there's all the links, and that's everything else. Something actually really mind-blowingly cool is Thursday is arguably Blade Runner Day, because 6/10/21, for those in the know, is arguably, it could be October, we're not sure, but I'm going to say it's Thursday. And as a celebration, I'm doing a live stream, probably at least 1 hour synth ambient, that I'm calling Ghost City Radio, that is inspired by the wonderfulness of Blade Runner, specifically the new one, because Hans Zimmer is the tits. Hey, Vangelis all the way, but man, I'm telling you, that soundtrack of the new one is crazy. Also, Planet Damage has an 8-track EP out, and it's remixes, and it's fantastic, and it's there, and you need to get it, because it will bring you enlightenment. It will bring you enlightenment. Trust me. Also, Deadlight Holiday just released a remix. Angel Spit's on that remix. A whole bunch of crazy stuff. Do it, because Deadlight Holiday, if you haven't heard of them, you need to hear about them. And last but not least, MTV TV. If you like it 24-hour non-stop, MTV TV, get it. And after we've done this, we are raiding across to MTV TV. That's it. I'm done. I'm not talking anymore. Just as everybody gets up for a toilet break. Incredible. So, Art of Rock, let's talk. Give me some questions. What do you got?
I got mixing styles. So, right now I'm working on a track that has a very traditional downbeat, industrial beat for the, let's call it the verse. When you get into the chorus, I got something more trippy, like reminds me of like an old Puppy riff, but it's actually using the K2000, and it's keeping everything in time, but it's cycling through various drums. So I'm trying to figure out a good way to make these two mix. And that's the experiment I'm on right at the moment.
Okay.
Just curious if anyone had any ideas or whatever along those lines.
All right. Adam, I see your hand.
I always have an idea.
All right.
Fire away, Adam.
Bass drop.
Yeah.
No. Well, so one of my favorite parts in a lot of songs is how they get from how they bridge a verse to a chorus or something. You know, the little weird little transitions, like the fills, can be super interesting. So like, you know, in dance music there are kind of a lot of standards, like kind of like, you know, going like quarters to eighths to sixteenths to 30 seconds, kind of things, right? Bass drops, noise treatments, right? So you can get the whoosh or kind of stuff going on to make a thing. On my record, I had a strange thing where I literally, like, I changed the time signature and do this weird thing that goes all out of pitch kind of thing, and then it goes into the bridge of the song from the verse in Carousel, right? It's one of the weirdest little transitions, and it's just adding a few beats but changing the timing and messing with the pitch so it all goes for a few seconds, then comes back into something else, but the thing that I would suggest when you're doing that is really try to manipulate the feel in between those pieces. So if the first piece is very crunchy and you're going to bring it into something soft, you need something that's going to break it apart, right? Yeah. So like take it apart, let it break down, and come into something more minimal, like shh or a drone or something, and then let the other piece build out of that. If you're going into something that's more powerful, you need something that's going to amp it up, which is like those EDM tricks of, chopping the beat into faster pieces and then coming in with, like now with more bass, kind of thing. Or another thing that can be really cool is literally just adding a beat to the thing, making that bass drop one beat too long really throws off the listener. It's like, whoa, what just happened there? So that's some thoughts from Adam, and I'll leave the floor open here.
Those are good ideas. Yeah.
Anyone else? Eric, shoot.
Yeah, just to go on with what Adam was saying too, with that shh, like those types of sounds, they're used a lot in pop music. They're good transfers between when you're going into different tempos, different sounds, different whatever you're doing. But the easiest way to do that would be record, whether it's live cymbal or whatever. Cymbals are great for that. Record the cymbal. If you're doing it, MIDI, change it to an audio, and then reverse that audio, and then you line that right up to where it's going to be going into. So you get that, and add some reverb to it, and get that long shh, and then it cuts out and goes into what you want to do. You could also take the first, if you're singing going into that, take your first consonant or vowel, whatever that's starting with, that first letter that you're going to hit with, and you chop that, and then you do the same thing, reverse that going into it, so you get that lead up of the vocal into the next part, chorus or verse. It chops it up and brings it in.
All right. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Eric. Julius, I see your hand.
I don't know how dynamic your song is or supposed to be, but maybe you could do a 1-bar break or something. That's what works for me as well.
That's kind of along the lines I'm going on right now, and that's something Adam mentioned as well. And the kind of strangeness of this is that it's going from kind of a high energy pounding to this kind of strange chorus. So it goes from that pounding to trippy, and right now that transition's pretty abrupt, and so it feels like it kind of lurches between the two.
Okay.
Okay. Another thing you could do. Oh, I'm sorry. Adam, can I jump in? Actually, yeah. Like, you can have like a drum fill, because it sounds like a lot of this has got to do with the drums. Mm-hmm. So you could have a 1 or 2 bar drum fill that is with the drums from the chorus. You mentioned the chorus drums are different to the verse drums, so they're the ones that are actually, they come in 2 bars. I reckon 2 bars, maybe a bar, but 2 bars. Yeah. And they're also giving a hint to where that the time feel of the chorus. Another thing to make things smooth is distortion. What are the vocals doing? Like, do the vocals hit on the 1? Do the vocals hit on the 1 and? Do they come in before the beat? Where do the vocals go? I'm just going to pick up on what Eric said.
The vocals haven't been written yet.
Okay,
They're,
cool.
they're not even there yet. We are right at the very beginning of it. It's I'm dealing with mainly drums and supporting bass.
Okay. Because, like, it's been, some ideas have gone around, you can do the same thing with the bass as well. I think vocals are the most important instrument, me personally. So depending on what your vocals are doing, if there's a vocal bridge and that's at the end of the chorus, I'm sorry, at the end of the verses that is going into the chorus, that you can use them in such a way. Like, for example, the last line of the chorus might be a line, then another line shouted, a line, then another line shouted. You know what I mean? That's sort of call and response. But the last time it does it before the chorus, that line shouted could be the chorus vocal. It could be the chorus shouting it, or that might shout the hook of the song.
Yeah.
For example, because if you can, what your vocals are doing will make almost any problem go away if they're done in such a way that, everything's connected. I'm not making any sense right now. Adam, go.
Actually, you're making a lot of sense, Carl. What I was kind of gathering there too is that you could rock a cappella over a bridge, basically. Let it come down to nothing but vocals, and then all of a sudden you've got this wicked change up in the beat. I was thinking too, Brain Bug Nightmare, good techno track from the 90s, right? One of the things that does is it goes from a very crunchy, techno beat to very, very thin, and the way that it does is it just holds out one string note very high, for like the most interminable time, where it just builds up tension and tension and tension, and then comes in with the strings, dun dun dun, and it's like,
Prodigy uses that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to interrupt really quickly. I have a cat issue to deal with. If anybody wants to say something, put their hand up. Adam, can I leave the emceeing to you? I'll be back in like 3 minutes. Share it.
But yeah,
other people jump in with tricks that you've heard then, man, because Eric, rock it.
That was fast. Thanks, Adam. Another thing you can do as well, and like Carl was saying, and Adam, and depending on what you're doing with your vocals and how the song's flowing and going, another main thing you can do is always silence. Silence is a huge part of music, just to get those ups and downs. And if it's going to dramatically change and you have nothing there, try that too. Just cut back like a quarter of a beat, even half a beat, whatever it is, and just have that like weird thing and just kind of like bring it down to a stop, and then it just pauses for that quarter of beat, and then it hits with a crash cymbal or a scream or whatever you're going into it. That's very dramatic.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because I don't use that nearly enough. That might actually be a really cool way to break between these two, and then maybe I've got a third beat that goes with it that kind of bridges on the way out. That might be a good way to get back into it after that.
That is a stunningly effective tool.
Yeah.
Eric is on the money with that, and that's another thing that you can hold out and bring tension to a piece with too. Like you got to feel that out, like if it feels too long or too fast to you, it'll feel too long or too fast to your listener. You know what I mean?
Yep. And I mean, like I said, I haven't written any of the lyrics or anything like that yet. I'm not even sure where I'm going with that just yet. I typically kind of get in the mood of it and then kind of, I don't know, freestyle it, sort of. Not really, kind of. I'll let it kind of tell me what the story is, sort of.
That's letting it flow. But yeah, no, I think it's a good thing to talk about ways to put together pieces of music that are not really, necessarily going together. I mean, especially, one of the things that I was thinking too was about key changes, right? Like if you have a part that does a key change, that trick that Eric's talking about giving it a little pause, like repeat a part, but take that away at the end, give it that, and then come back, but do the key change, and that can be a really effective tool too.
Well, the other thing I like about doing the silence is I might be able to, I might be able to tie that into something like like in the movies, like a jump scare.
Yeah, exactly. And another, we were talking about the noise treatment kind of stuff a few minutes ago, and there, Eric was right. It's used all the time in pop music. Like, Carl talks a lot about how he adds noise into his synthesizers and envelopes that to bring out more fatness in the sounds. So that's another thing that you can do, though, but do it in the other direction where you thin it out so you could continue using the rhythm structures but just as noise. So instead of it being like boom to bap, it could be
yeah
boom into the next thing. So yeah,
there's a trick I've done before.
Filter crush it, bit crush.
Yeah there's another trick I've done in the past too that might work, where if I dropped into silence and then had a silent drum beat controlling the vocal track, where so instead of just like what you're talking about, the bit crushing, you can actually control that to a specified beat. That might be cool there too.
And then when you combine that with the trick, that Eric was talking about with reversing the reverb on the first note of the vocal and letting it come in, like do it real long though, so it's like right into the vocal, like really, really long. And so, like a lot of times we'll do that with like a half a beat or something, like are you the one? Right, but you can do it like really stretch it out and work the drone too.
Yeah, good point. Good points. Thank you.
We can keep talking about this, or we could talk about noise in fucking music, or noise in regular music. And noise is a really, really cool thing. Like, hold on. So, if you add noise to a synthesizer, and you've got a low pass filter going on, noise is going to be there. Noise is going to be adding a much higher frequency response that filter can bite into. If you're using a vocoder, having noise in your carrier wave in the core sound is fantastic, because noise is going to get the vocoder something to bite into. But there's a whole bunch of other cool things you can do with noise as well, like distorting it. And if you, for example, if you run noise through a VCA, and you turn that VCA on and off at the pitch of a note, for example 440 or something, and then you distort that, so the noise is opening and closing 440 times a second, and your ear is going to go, it will hear pitch there.
Mm-hmm.
Then you distort that, or you can add and distort it. Do that with probably a square wave or something, just so it's a really defined thing. And what you're going to end up is with a harmonically very rich thing, because it's not a wave, it's a wave full of noise, and the next tooth is full of noise. So it's this big, chunky thing. There's a whole bunch of things you can do with noise. Adam, I see your hand.
Oh, are we to me? Okay. Hi. So I have lots and lots and lots and lots of thoughts on noise. So Carl, stop me if I'm going on too long. What Carl was just talking about using voltage control, there's a lot of cool things that you can do with noise using voltage control, using side chains too. Because like if you run, take a rhythm a loop, right? Like sample even an old funk loop or something, right? Turn that into a voltage controller, turn that sampler into a voltage controller, then hit that into noise to use that to open and close your envelopes, and then you get this very cool sounding, kind of stuff, right? And it's just noise, and then you can f with it and pitch it and do all that kind of stuff too. Side chains, right? Huge thing we do all the time in electronic music, right? Side chain to the kick drum, and you get that. You know, you open it up and it gets longer and longer, and boom, into your breakdowns, right? Filters, man. Filters and noise are like, it is such a good trick that we've been using the same trick since disco, you know, like think about like, you know, kind of things like the reverse cymbal thing that Eric was talking about. That is literally a noise trick because cymbals are basically noise. You can tune noise. Envelopes, man. So one of the things when I talk about noise, one of my favorite things to do is say, whispers are just shaped noise. So your mouth makes an envelope when you're not engaging your vocal cord and you just rush air and whisper. All that is noise going through the shape that your mouth makes it. So you can literally create envelopes that make consonants and vowel sounds out of noise if you're very, very patient. There are so many ways that you can shape it using different kinds of noise too. White noise is super popular. It's very easy to get a lot of good spectrum stuff out of that, but mess around with like other kinds of pink noise, you know, screw around with noise that happens in different ratios, I guess. I don't really know how to explain that. Somebody might be able to explain that a little bit better. But the frequencies are different. And so messing with those and shaping those frequencies, like shaping pink noise will have different feel than shaping white noise. Somebody else.
Yes, in terms of noise, I end up with a lot of noise that I'm not necessarily intending to get when I record guitars. So I like to use that a little bit and sometimes cut a section of that out where there's not playing, but there's noise that was unintentional, and take that and mess with it. Add a little distortion to that, and use that as a separate sample as part of a drum beat or a fill, so that you end up, and I'm sure it'd work the same with synthesizers if you're running an analog through an amplifier or mixer for that matter, with a preamp. Like you'll end up with noise that you don't necessarily want, maybe even before you start, but leave that in there sometimes because it works out nicely for various things.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, man. That's actually a really interesting point. I've talked about this before, is that something that makes those 80s tracks so amazing is the noise. And those 70 tracks, you know, when you listen to Sweet Dreams, it's so noisy. Like the original master is noisy. And it adds to the, you know, to the fatness of everything. And my cat is going totally psycho right now, so I apologize. And this is something that I feel is really lacking from, you know, music that is modern music. You have the ability to use plugins, and, you know, there is no noise in plugins. And if it is, it's kind of like, noise. And then you spend so much time, I spend so much time getting rid of that damn noise and that damn hum. Because, you know, in the modern mastering process, that all that stuff, it's going to come through. And you're going to hear that shit. But it's really interesting how, you know, at what point do you want to let go? When do you want to let, you know, drop it? When do you want to do something like going back to, you know, tape noise is fantastic. Tape distortion is the best thing in the world. But the problem you've got there is that there's noise there. There's a lot of noise there. And, you know, when you distort something like a guitar, the noise is going to make it sound better. And when you distort your bass and your, you know... and Walt, welcome. By the way, Walt, this is my friend Walt. Wherever Walt is, me and Walt are working on tracks and other things that we're not talking about yet. And yeah, Walt's one hell of a bass player. And you know, Walt, if you want to talk about amping stuff up or mayhem, you know, just throw your hand up because I'd love to hear.
I actually was. I loved what Vincent was saying, and it brought to mind something that's really like had me working on a lot of different sounds and noise. So in the production of the Doom soundtrack, I'm sure everyone here or most of you have heard the Doom soundtrack and what Mick Gordon did with that. One of the things Mick Gordon would do is he would take all of the sounds that he would get from his like Doom array, which was basically a giant array of guitar pedals that he put a sine wave through, and then just fucked all the way through it and remixed, and then he would compress that all to hell, and then he'd take that sound and he'd put it through a really busted little guitar amp and then feed it back into itself. And by feeding it back into itself, it would accidentally produce huge amounts of like repeating noises and things that would that were accidental. And that's kind of what I was going off of with what Vincent was saying. And he would use those almost more than he would use the sounds from the array because they're so interesting and they're so accidental. In fact, what Carl was just saying, we were working on a track, and in the first day when we were jamming, I was running through a couple guitar pedals and a bit crusher, and the bit crusher was bringing out this end of the note would cut off and the synthesizer would stop, but there'd be a sound that it was producing that you wouldn't be able to hear normally, but because I had amplified it and then run it through the bit crusher, it was going insane. And that's in the track. And it sounds amazing. It's like this huge part of it now in the choruses and it's all because of this accidental noise that you can get through feedback and through overdriving and distorting. So I definitely support noise.
Thank you, Walt. Adam, I see your hand, and then after you, I'd like to talk about more chaos. I love chaos, but Adam, please go.
Oh, well, I think I'm going to set you up pretty well for chaos conversation too. But Walt, that's amazing. That's a spectacular trick. And I love that. And between what you just said and what was preceding there was I was thinking about noise color and I was thinking about so Carl, what you said about plugins having noise, but it not being very good noise got me thinking about warm and cold harmonics in the frequencies, and noise can be very nice and very warm and very toasty, but then it can also be very jangly and non-harmonic. And I think that's one of the things that we spend a lot of time trying to control is it's less about getting rid of noise, but more about controlling the harmonics of that noise. So it's not ugly noise, right? And then I was thinking, this is where I'm going to let Carl go off, as I started thinking about squelch and feedback kind of things, right? Because of what Walt was saying. And that's a super effective trick. You can do some really, I've done some pretty great sounding squelchy crap, just in Reason, right? Because, you can over tweak your soft synths and make them feedback and do weird crap. And so to give a couple of for instances, in the Bowie remix that I did, which turned into Hal, right? So it's two pieces that I use a lot of the same stuff in, right? That whole melodic line is nothing but squelchy stuff that I just from twiddling the knobs on the soft synths, literally the soft synths. And I just recorded a bunch of that and found little pieces that made it something cool. So I get this whistling melody and it's all out of feedback. just by cutting up chunks of feedback and turning it into something melodic. And now this is where I'm going to let Carl take over, because Carl is the master of chaotic noise and feedback, turning that into something musical.
Wow, thank you, man. That means a lot. I actually do appreciate that. And there's a lot of people here.
I learned a lot by watching you, Dad.
Damn. A lot of you guys have also got input that I'd love to hear. Like, so I am. Walt mentioned feedback. So did Adam, and I'm trying to utilize feedback in what I do on a modular level. So I have got a spring reverb that feeds back insanely. I've got a really old delay from the mid-early 80s that also really feeds back. And a few other bits and pieces as well that can actually feed back into themselves. And, you know, like Walt said, when you get into bit crushing and when you get into, you know, there's so many different types of distortion. There's wave shaping, there's, I mean, granular not really, but there's all of these different ways that you can really ruin sound. And in each of them is going to bring out something different. And it's interesting that if you can set up, like, I got these old graphic EQs for, like, somebody actually gave them to me for free. And they have become core to everything I do. The noise is okay, but we're talking about fuck noise. You know, you can get these things for like $50. And it's a graphic EQ like you'd see at a bar to EQ the thing up. But what I'll do is if I'm running something into the vocoder, I'll scoop out 400 so everything... so you can control what's coming in and what's going out, but also if you're putting something into a feedback loop, because like noise has got all frequencies, and that includes low all the way down to DC, down to 0, down to hardly moving at all, and if to really utilize noise and to really utilize the shape of what that thing is, you have to shape it, you have to EQ it, sometimes quite drastically, to create something that's great. But running it into distortion pedal and distortion pedal and distortion pedal, or distortion, you know, you're setting yourself up for something fantastic to happen. And using that with drums, using it with vocals, using it with a whisper vocal. Like I always say, Brian from Gasoline Invertebrate and the Gothsicles recently bought some shitty distortion pedal, and he owns it. It's changed the way he works. And you know, you can get a Boss, you know, DS1 distortion for like $50 on Craigslist. You can find them free. And they are a great distortion pedal. They're bloody excellent. But you know, I'm looking around. I'm seeing so much variety in musician here. Like, please, let's talk about injecting chaos. There it is. No, good. Yeah, good. That's Dodd. What's the brand? Dodd. Excellent.
It's the death metal.
So please, let's talk about shaved aluminium, and this could go into using. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Oh yeah, who's got the plasma? Damn. And Vince, was that that was a Boss? Excellent. Great. My shit's over there. No, show me your pedals. This is wonderful. Let's talk about those pedals. Let's challenge each other to use those pedals somehow differently. Let's go. Brain salad. Something different. How? Go.
I don't know, man. That death metal pedal it just adds so much noise to a guitar.
Can I ask you, does it have a control voltage input? Is it just in and out, or is there a control input on it?
I believe it's just in and out. Yeah, it's just in and out.
Okay, so, you know, have you ever used that on drums or synths?
I've actually used it on quite a few things. Mostly guitar, but I have used it on vocals before. I've also used it on a oscillating fan.
Okay, cool. Because I'm throwing the discussion open here. How and everybody else's pedal. Like I saw Walt's got the plasma, which you can do anything at all on. But as far as these other cheaper, shitty ones, which are rock and roll, best guitar I've ever heard came out of a big muff. But what? Let's brain cell it here. Let's mix. Eric, I know you've got experience. Adam, I see your hand go.
Run like an old like SR16 drum machine through one of those pedals, and instant crunchy industrial delicious beats. Like the SR16 has such lovely simple basic sounds that when you run it through anything, you get great how do I say this, great popping, you know.
It's got great punch.
Yeah, punch. That's the word I'm looking for. Punch. And
add reverb. Reverb, then distort. Actually, reverb, then compression, and gate. Gated reverb, mama. And distort that. And really quickly, I'm just going to get Julius and Vince. You guys have been posting some great photos this week, so that's awesome. Well done. Back onto distortion. Reverb, distorting reverb. And something I'm doing, because I've got this really old, and if I just did I cut somebody off? I'm sorry. I just got this crap reverb called DRV 1000 for like nothing. And it's just a piece of shit. But what you can do is you can just assign it to pure reverb. And, which is kind of, it's typical. You can do that with a lot of stuff, and it's stereo. So I'll put drums through that, make it pure reverb, set it to a gate or reverse with a really short time. So it's only distorting the actual reverb sound. And then compress it. So reverb, wet, pure wet. Then compress the crap out of it. Then distort it. And I've got I've got some of the dope for VCAs. If you put more than 5 volts into it, they'll distort because they're designed to do that. And it's a really wonderful transistor distortion, totally usable. And because it's into a VCA, you can cut it off. So you can be putting in like a 16th. So the drums are playing whatever. There's a really short distortion, and this thing's cutting it off on the a short reverb, and it's cutting it off on the 16. And what that's going to mean as well is that part of the previous sound is going to lock into the next sound. So you start getting this really interesting textures thing going on. Vince, I want to hear what you have to say. Boom. Vince, your hands up.
Yes. Talking about noise. This is the noisiest thing I own.
What is it?
It's the TC Electronics Old Blood. It's TC Electronic Blood Moon.
I've heard about
phaser.
that.
Tell me more.
I've heard about that.
It's super noisy.
Yeah.
The thing about using a phaser that's noisy like that is it's got modulation.
Ah.
Now, okay, so I'm seeing hands go. I'll just be really quick. So I've got the Bad Stone. Is it TC? I'm not sure who made it, but it's the Bad Stone. I think it's TC. And you can distort into that guy. I got it because I wanted to emulate the sound of Jean-Michel Jarre's Oxygen.
EHX.
Yeah. And when you put additional noise into a phaser, and then you run, if you run the Moog through it or a synth that isn't a guitar that's at instrument level as opposed to guitar level, it's going to distort. And it sounds great. And the more noise you put in it, because the distortion is clamping the noise down with the signal, so the noise becomes part of the signal, which results in fat and higher frequencies, which the phaser just bites into. And it is just dreamland. Vince, did you have anything else you wanted to add there?
No, just this. This is great because it's got a feedback control knob too.
Okay,
so
cool.
With the phaser.
Bam. I want to throw. I think Julius. I think you were next. Then I'm going to throw it to Eric. Then I'm throwing it to Walt.
What I really love is fuzz distortion, and I think we talked about that. But I'm still looking for good fuzz distortion gear stuff. Shit, and I know most of you are into analog stuff. Maybe you got some suggestions for me, because there is Behringer, for example, And somebody here said that I know, I know Behringer, but someone here said that Behringer, because it is what it is actually not that bad for distortion, if you know what I mean, to make it a little bit trashy. So yeah.
Yeah, Vince, go. This is going to turn into a.
All right.
Go.
Behringer gets a real bad rap overall, but I will say their guitar pedals are kind of fantastic.
Really?
I don't know about anything else. Yeah, I've got a super fuzz and a ultra chorus and a compressor pedal from Behringer and a noise reducer. They're all fantastic.
Okay.
They all do exactly what they say they're going to do. They're built on the old Boss pedals.
That's what I was going to say. Who did they rip off to make that technology? But yeah, no, that's good to know, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, good to know.
I had a Behringer DI that was an exact copy of another one, and it had a tube in it, and it actually ended up being really good. Then I got the one that
the vintage tube distortion.
Yeah, well, no, it's a DI. And you could distort the DI, and it had and I shouldn't have sold it, but I sold it. I actually ended up getting, it was an art or something, I can't remember what it was. The original version, it was bloody beautiful. I'm going to back out of this now. Eric, did you? Oh no, I'm sorry, I forgot who we're up to. I'll throw it back to you, Julius.
Yeah, thanks, Vince. It's good to know about the Behringer pedal. I was considering this. But I'm having an eye on the MXR Bass Fuzz Deluxe. Oh my god. Does anyone have experience with this one, or?
What?
MXR Bass Fuzz Deluxe.
I can't say that MXR makes good quality pedals. I don't have experience with that specific thing, but from working in music retail, they are definitely a solid buy.
Ditto.
Nice, okay. Thank you.
And don't forget Boss. Like, the Boss stuff, Boss pedals are, like, great. They're built like tanks, and they're bloody great. And if you want
expensive.
Well, yeah, no. If you, like I was saying before, the DS1, the orange core, everybody's got this distortion unit. Everybody has it because it's bloody good. And then you run synths through that, or vocals, or bass, or drums, or whatever. You know, you can get them for $50, $30 on Craigslist here. But just throwing it out there.
Thank you.
I'm going to throw this finally to Eric. Eric, I'm sorry, go.
No worries. There's another one called Fuzzbender. I can't remember. I'm blanking on the name. Look up Fuzzbender. Not Fuzzbender. Fuzz Tone Bender. That's what it is. Fuzz Tone Bender is great for that fuzz sound you're looking for, Julius. For hardware, if you go in inbox stuff, there's numerous distortion things you can use. I like to distort. I haven't recorded guitars in a while, but especially with guitars, run that through my little Fender 15 amp, mic it up. I can't remember the Ibanez pedal I was using for a while, but I'm a big fan of old Ibanez pedals from the 2000s. I haven't used their stuff in a while, but their old Ibanez distortion pedals or phaser is pretty awesome. Run that through there, get that distortion coming in, and then I like to distort distortions a lot. So, and I do that a ton of noise distortion. Like I'll have three different distortions on one instrument.
Change one after the other.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So even if I do a guitar coming in, or different distortions on different like if I record a guitar 3 times for one track, so you don't get the phasing in and out, I'll put different distortions in each one. I'll use inbox. I'll record one distortion. I'll record another guitar going right into it, clean, and then distort that with just inbox distortions, just to get that different sounds, and then take a distorted guitar going into it and distort it again with like a Native Instruments guitar distortion, or man, I have so many. Red Light District. I use PreSonus Studio 1 as my my DAW. They have a great built-in called red light distortion. But yeah, I distort distortions a lot and just use a ton of, as long as it sounds good, you know. You'll get a lot of good tones out of stuff like that you haven't heard before because the distortions are distorting distortions. So you'll just get like a whole bunch of just frequencies everywhere and just a clusterfuck of noise, which I've always liked.
That's great. Thank you. I love that. Walt, hit me with your rhythm stick.
I just wanted to add to everything. Also, the JHS pedals that have come out. He's really kind of a pedal geek, and he has produced some really nice gear. So I would look at some of that. But the Joyo Joyo pedals, I think they're Chinese. Those guitar pedals are rocking, and they're only like $50-$60 a piece. And it's a great option. And this kind of leads to what I really wanted to say is no matter what you do, have options, have multiple options, because as soon as you've got a pedal that works great for your guitar, but as soon as you put a synthesizer through it, all of a sudden you're getting nothing. Like it's just not working, and you can try multiple pedals in front of it, and it's not really helping at all. And it's best to have multiple options. You know, grab a Rat pedal, grab as many pedals as you can, so that if one's not working, maybe you need to overdrive it first and then throw that pedal in front of it or another pedal in front of it. These cheesy $30 K-Mice pedals, I gotta tell you, like these cheesy pedals that you can buy sometimes that are so cheap are sometimes better than the premium pedals. Not all the time, but in some applications, I'll be using this cheesy $25 pedal that I grabbed over a $200 pedal that I have. And it sounds way better. It's creamier. It does just what I need it to do to that synthesizer. So also, I'm a nerd, and this plasma pedal is also a gate. So if you turn the voltage of this thing down enough, it becomes a gate, and it will chop everything that you're producing unless it goes past a certain voltage and pushes a voltage through it. And so this is a really fun tool to kind of jack your sound even further. And so kind of look for things that are made by strange producers, companies that are trying new things as well, because that'll kind of give you a new sound to play with and more options in your production.
Thank you, Walt. Vince, I think you're next.
Yeah, if you're on the subject of guitar pedals, I've probably got a lot to say, because I don't have a ton of them, but I've got enough that I do enough research on it that I don't know. I drive my wife crazy because I'm always saying things she doesn't understand. But another thing about pedals is if you look for small up and coming boutique pedal makers on Reverb or Instagram, either one, both are good places to look. I've found several. I've got one that's a Plexi drive that's built inside one of those little plastic Halloween decoration rats.
Vince, we lost you. Vince. All right, Vince is gone.
I'm not. Whoa, no, I'm not.
Keep coming back. We just lost the last 15 seconds of your dialogue.
Okay, you got me now?
I got you now. Rewind
Okay.
15 seconds and play.
All right, I don't remember where I was at 15 seconds, so I'll just start from where I think I might have been.
You were talking about the Halloween rat or something.
Yeah, okay. It's right here. Hold on, let me grab it. This thing. It's a simple Marshall Plexi style distortion, but it's built inside a Halloween decoration. That's I got it off of a guy I found on Instagram. It was $60. for the hand-built Plexi Distortion.
Can you
probably
please
shouldn't
put
say
that
how much.
link? Put that link in the description. Diana, feel free to throw that in because I think he's just sold 10 distortion units. I'm getting one of them and I'm putting it in my modular. I'm gonna have a
Here's the
rack
thing.
sitting on my rig.
You can contact him, but I doubt he'll make you another one of these specifically. He only made 6 of them in Halloween of 2019, and I managed to snag one.
That means there's a price.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Premium
yeah.
for the
You
rack.
can probably get him to make another one, but I don't know how much it'll cost you. I got mine actually at a discount because he was doing a giveaway, and I was like, I entered and didn't win, and I asked him if he had any left. I told him I didn't have a whole lot of money, and he let me get it cheap. So
All right.
I don't know how much they cost you. It's Shock Rock pedals. Brandon Shock. It's SCHOCK.
Nice.
All right.
He's based out of Oregon.
Thank you.
All the
Excellent.
information I have right now off the top of my head.
Did you want to add anything else to that?
He
Or
makes
like...
all kinds of other stuff though.
All right, cool. All right, and I mean, and therefore we're supporting the little guy, because that's what we want to do. We want to support little guys. Adam, I see your hand. Go. And then I'm after you.
So that, you know, the problem with seeing something like that is being the maker that I am. I'm like inspired by that. I'm like, a new thing to make, yay! But no, seriously, I was since we're on the subject of pedals, you know, again, this is going to come from my retail experience more than my practical experience in this regard. But the Electro Harmonix pedals, there are some fantastic ones out there. So Julius, you were talking about looking for something fuzzy, and the muff pedals by Electro Harmonix are very popular to get a good, especially the big muff bass pedal is very popular, fuzzy. You know, people looking for that like typo tone kind of thing, pick up the big muff. They have a reverb that's called the Canyon. And it has like these sort of infinite settings. One day we were messing around with it and just playing with the dials, and you know, you know how you can put your thumb on the jack on your guitar cable, meet like that. We were making it sounded like freaking land speeders in Star Wars, like these really beautiful, like, you know. So, you know, earlier we were talking about, you know, just recording noise feedback, weird stuff that happens when you do weird stuff to your gear, and that was a super cool, like, you know, like I want to repeat that trick at some point and use it in something, maybe reverse it or whatever. So, you know, but it makes these amazing like sounds. It's so cool. Very fun things to use. I'm sorry, Carl, I'll let you go in just a couple of seconds. But they have some other very cool pedals. I was trying to think, the Oceans 11, I think it's called, the Oceans pedal. That one's also a very popular for delays and stuff. But Carl, go for it, man.
Thanks, man. There's no rush. You finish.
Oh, I was done. Mostly I just wanted to tell the little story about screwing around with that Canyon pedal because it makes some really cool sounds, and it was literally just sticking your thumb on the jack.
Two things. One, actually a few things. Firstly, Aussie Rob, I noticed you're having a chat. That's great. You're on the Patreon now, and the link to this is in the Patreon. So please feel free to jump in. That sound, when you bust your put your thumb over your pedal, has got a tone, has got a pitch, and that pitch is either 50 or 60 hertz. So there it is, with some beautiful overtones. So you can sample that, and and you can utilize that. I really want to do a session soon on sampling, because now there's 4 K2000 users here. It's only me and Brett today. Another thing is, because sampling is just nuts. I mentioned in the comments about Doepfer. I always go back to Doepfer because it's cheap, it's solid, and it's bloody awesome. They do wave shapers and distortions. And the thing about a modular distortion and wave shaping is that you can modulate it. So it's not just plug it in, turn it on, and find the setting. And, oh, yeah, there it is. You can, though, there's the setting, but I'm going to be changing something on there either slowly or I'm going to change it really fast. I could change it 10,000 times a second, literally, if I want. And by doing that, you might have a drone going into that sound that's being distorted. You might be modulating that with the pitch of something else, and that pitch is going to make it sound like there's a harmonic ringing at that pitch that you're playing into it. There's so much stuff you can do with modular distortion. The other cool thing about modular distortion, it's already looking for a volume that is modular volume. Because one fun thing is when you go from synths to guitar amps, you have to fuck around with volume a bit because you could be inputting it a bit too hard and it could sort out. But I want a distortion pedal now. I thought I had this under control. Brett, I saw your hand.
Yeah, I wanted to add something to the sampling and distortion. It kind of goes hand in hand to a lot of the stuff we were talking about. Granulizers are one of my best friends in terms of especially vocal distortion. I know that's something that Planet Damage was using as well. But outside of that, where it comes to sampling, I was having kind of an interesting discussion in FL Studio with another dude in a different group. And they were talking about the step sequencer, for example. And the comic reference of it was that if you're editing WAV files and whatnot in your DAW sampling, that is somehow the same as working with them in the step sequencer. And I'm like, okay, I get it. It's a joke, but that's kind of oversimplistic. And that's where it comes back to you. And so one of the things that I did previously is I grabbed a bunch of the president, it was at the time President Bush, and you could get all these recordings, and I mean, they were all, copyrightless. And so I was able to take all his speeches and whatnot, and I had quite a library of it. And one of the things I would do is I'd take his words and I would start chopping them into unique samples and literally just sculpt them until, like, take the word with, for example. And I'd sit there and cut out the W, cut out the I, cut out the T, the whole thing. But then I would repeat sections of it. And that is where you start getting into making tones. You could take a portion of a word, for example, and start compressing these waves closer and closer and closer together. And they'll start to take on a whole new tone. Now, you want to pump that into something else, you've got a brand new synth at that point, because there's nothing else making that quality of sound, or that type of sound. It's not synthetic; it's actually just choppy, and it's a trick of the ear. So yeah, that's just for fun. That's some stuff I did with that.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then that then turns into the plethora of conversation around what a K2000 can do to sound.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything that thing does is just nuts. I'm throwing the floor open. If anybody wants to continue on the joys of distortion or wants to bring up another question, please fire away.
I've actually really been interested in glitching more often than not. Actually, I have questions about it. I want to know, what are you guys using for glitching audio, or glitching your vocal tracks, glitching the entire track? What have you found that's useful and has really given you great results? Because I'm a little lacking in this category, and haven't found a whole lot of tools to put in my toolbox.
Adam, I see your hand.
Always, man. So I have a quick question though, Walt. When you're talking about glitching, are you talking about more like a stuttering kind of thing, or more like crushing, like to make that like
stuttering, stuttering, random reversal, and then replaying, and
so a little bit of everything. Okay,
kind of everything, yeah.
So you're gonna hate my answer to that, but I do it all by hand.
I didn't want to hear that. Yeah. I want an easy tool that does the thing.
So there are some really good tools out there that like I know there's something. I don't use Ableton myself, but I know there is a tool in Ableton. I know like some breakbeat DJs who use a glitching tool in Ableton that does the stuttering. In Serato, when I'm DJing, I can do like I can do like, so you chop down the beat and then roll a filter, kind of things like. So there are beat slicing, right, is a tool that is kind of an automatic tool. In Reason, one of the things, so you were talking about your plasma pedal that you can turn it into like a gate that way. Like in Reason, there's a tool. It's called the what is the Alligator or Gator or something like that. And that one's pretty cool because you can randomize gates, or you can kind of set it to do it more consistently based on how you tweak the knobs, and you can set the lengths and all that at different frequencies, and it'll like right through the filters, and then when you run something through that, like, here's a trick for you. One of the remixes that I did, it's this very trip hoppy remix, and it's got this kind of funky sounds. Like, it sounds like somebody's doing like this kind of Stevie Wonder clavy kind of thing, like kind of thing. And it is literally one fucking note that I played through an Alligator and just tweaked and tweaked and tweaked until I got it to kind of do that groovy fucking rhythm. One note, and it turns into this. But most of the stuff that when I'm doing like the complex tro style, where it's like like all kind of things happening that change up the rhythm and lots of kind of stuff, that is all being programmed by hand, and like setting the synths so that they do choppy things is a useful trick, right? You can use the trick that Carl was talking about earlier, square waves, on off, on off, on off. So if you run a square wave through, run a sound through a square wave, right, it'll do that, right?
If you randomize the square wave with noise, like we were talking about before, then it's even more chaotic, right?
Yeah, but so then the trick to that though is less about using it stock that way, but more about recording chunks and then chopping that back up and turning it into something more useful. The thing that I did for the Volcano remix with Lorelei, right, is I took the vowel sounds out of her chorus, right, and took like this up in the kind of thing, and I turned that into a melody, right, and then you play that over something that's got like a nice motoring rhythm, and it does this cool, like, it glitches in the high but it keeps this nice anchor in the low. And then you switch it up so that you've got this beautiful vocal that's happening, this arching sounds that go over this like glitched up kind of thing in the rhythm, right? So you which like basically which part of your body you're feeling it in, the frequencies, which part are you doing?
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah.
That was great, and it's great when you talk like that. We all know exactly what you're talking about because we're all musicians, and I love it. Keep it up. Eric, I'm throwing it to you now. And then, Julius, I want to jump after you.
Thanks, Carl. I like what Adam said with the manual, some of the manual stuff for glitching. I'm a big fan of manually stuttering stuff. I think that gets you the best effect, because if you just go through and cut out just those parts that you want to just pause real fast, is the most effective way. It sounds the best, in my opinion. The tool I use that I love glitching stuff. It's one of my favorite things, especially with distortion, glitch and end distortion, or distortion glitch, or distortion glitch distortion. I use this as a program called Ill-Formed Glitch 2. It's 50 euros or 50 pounds. I'm not sure what it is. It's a really useful tool for inbox. I don't, hardware-wise, I'm not sure. But yeah, here it is. There's the link for it in our chat there. It's amazing. It does so much for what you're paying for. It has a retrigger, a delay, modulator, distortion, reverser, shuffler, gator, lo-fi, stretcher, and tape stop, all in the one. And when you put the effect on the track or the part that you're looking for, it shows everything within that in a MIDI. So you can stretch and move whatever you want, and you can randomize it. You can, like I said, distort the crap out of it. And you can just take all of it off, just use a tape stop, use a modulator, use a gator, use whatever you want, and it combine elements. I definitely recommend checking that out. I think it's like I said, a really useful tool. It makes a lot of things, in my opinion, it takes a lot of things that I used before for trying to glitch things and just randomize and do things. This does all of that in like one package. It's incredible. I think there's a free one too, Glitch 1. It's not as powerful and it's only 32-bit, whereas this is 64, which is amazing. But yeah, that's my recommendation to check out.
Thank you, Eric. Julius. And then I'm after you, Julius.
As the bloody beginner I am, I'm all into simplicity. And if you are into plugins, I can highly recommend Grossbeat by ImageLine. It lets you alter the time and volume of an input inside a matrix. And you can do great glitches with it. You can also alter the volume, as I said, and make some stuttering and vinyl scratches and all. And yeah, I highly recommend it. I use it very often, and it's very powerful. Wait, I'll post you a link in the chat. Here we go.
Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I just posted that. Was there anything else you wanted to add, or can I just start shooting my mouth off? Okay, I have 2 words. Brian Eno. Brian Eno got together with Korg and developed this thing called the Chaos Pad. And the Chaos Pad arguably is the thing that made Glitch. It is fucking brilliant. And I have a Chaos Pad 3 and I've had it for 10 years, 20 years. You can find them. They're on Reverb and all sorts of places. Their price is going up because they're so amazing. They're still amazing. Mine actually has, I did a show and it still has bits of blood in it. There it is. Although it's not blood, it's fake blood. And the thing about the Chaos Pad is that it's easy for it to get overused and overdone. The great thing about the Chaos Pad is it takes MIDI. It has USB, but you can't use USB with it. It's for communication and programming. But the MIDI, it will sync to MIDI, so you can change. It will subdivide to the MIDI clock with the delays and stuff. So, from the lessons of the Chaos Pad is, do you have a delay unit, Walt? And I think you need to have a dog on your lap. And you need to stroke that dog and laugh maniacally. Yes. So get a delay. Because I know what you think. Like, I agree with everyone that there's a place and time to go, okay, I'm going to now meticulously cut up every word or beat or whatever, and I'm going to fuck with it, and there it is. Kaboom. And it's controlled, and that's great, and it has its place. But sometimes you just want to go, I'm going to do a whole bunch of random shit now. And so I would be suggesting get a delay. And on your delay, the next thing in line for that delay is a bit crusher or a distortion unit. or a sampling hole or something weird, something that's going to fuck it up weirdly. And what you do is you take whatever it is and that delay is obviously going in time, and you have the ability to change delay speed on that. And if you can do it so that it can be quarter, 16th, 32nd, 64th, even better. But if you're twitching the knob, maybe that'll be something really weird and cool too. And what you're doing is your track is going on. It might be drums, although drums might be difficult because drums really need to sync. It might be a synth line or something. And you somehow divert that signal to the delay. So that could be a switch, it could be an on-off thing, it could be running the whole time, whatever. But as you're doing it, it goes through the delay, then into the bit crusher, or the plasma distortion. So that part of it is going to go grab and be thrown into that thing. Kind of like what they used to do in dancehall and the original dubstep. When I say dubstep, I'm talking about bang, 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 bang. I'm talking dub. But faster and cuttier and more bit crushed. Read into what that plasma can do, because if you start... Does it have a CV? It does have a CV in, doesn't it? Oh, it's just in and out.
Yeah, it's just in and out.
Okay, fair enough. Use it, but also find something else. Somebody was mentioned something about, like with the stutter, if you took a 16th on your BeatStep Pro, and you put that into a VCA, so the VCA is now going to be cutting up the voice on the 16ths. Same thing. Throw that into a distortion or something similar. And, you know, yes to buying gear. It's great fun. But even better is utilizing what you have. Because if you utilize what you have, you're going to come up with something that no one's probably done before. And this gets into another interesting thing. Glitch has a sound, and that sound is a requirement. But when you start fucking with stuff, and when you start biting at the edges and going, well, I've got this gear, what can I do with it? How can I make this gear glitchy? I'll take my distortion pedal, I'll feed that into a stutter thing, like I mentioned, a VCA, getting a 16th from your BeatStep or whatever. Or it's coming off a square wave that's running as a low-frequency oscillator. I'm literally turning that thing up and down. Fuck with that shit to see where it goes. And I think the trick with glitch also is it being sparse. And when the vocal, let's say it's being glitched off a vocal, the vocal is stopped or muted and the glitch takes over, then the vocal comes back up. Because if the vocal's going while the glitch is going, you might lose the effect. There are a million random... Because then there's also glitch in drums, and that involves random stuff. And, you know, if you've got a modular delay, that will allow you to cut stuff, to clock stuff on the 16th, quarter, 8th, 32nd, and 64th, and it can randomly pick one of those times, then that's even better. I really don't know if I'm making sense anymore. I'll throw the thing open to anybody who has questions or... That's a good noise right there. And I'll just jump back. Unfortunately, Vince is gone. That guitar pedal thing, you know, when you touch the tip of the most fattest destructive bass is probably that. It's just the most wonderful bass there is. It's huge. And you can play it. It is pitched. Brett, I see you wanting to speak.
I'm going to disagree. There's a test tone that is available on some of the mixers that will hit a bass tone way better than the guitar, than the 60 hertz.
Well, yeah. How about, instead of disagreeing, you add to the conversation, because that distortion is actually based on that's a sine wave. So that's a sine wave being distorted and crunched up. Play with them both, mix them, see what happens. Experiment.
Also, from the frequency of your power.
Yes.
I was literally going to say that the best bass drops are a simple sine wave that is then processed so that you get some you know, because when you get very, very deep, right, you just can't really hear it anymore. So you need those harmonic frequencies to fill in for your ear to perceive it that low. So there's using a sine wave and then fuzzing it up, distortion, that kind of stuff. There is also a tool that Waves makes, Basemax, that's what it's called. And what it does is it generates artificial frequencies to fill in for ultra lows. So it literally tricks your brain into thinking that it's hearing frequencies that aren't there by using the harmonic frequencies that would be there if said note existed. And so it's a very useful tool because it doesn't actually add sound pressure to your lows, which of course, to, you know, the lower that you go, the more pressure it requires for volume, you know. And so by using this Basemax trick, it's what I did for Sour Diesel. If you listen to my track Sour Diesel, it sounds ultra fucking low, and the idea was to do like a trap style bass for that. That bass is a sine bass, but then I'm using the Basemax on it, so it's actually all like doom 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 doom, but it sounds like a very good trick, generating artificial frequencies with Basemax.
That's brilliant. Let's delve into this for a bit. I do want to wrap this up shortly, but I don't remember if it was Vince or Brett before we're talking about running stuff through a small speaker. I want to talk about additive frequencies and faking bass. And I'll go back to like a really great trick on a lot of old modular synths and, you know, Moogs and etc. is you say, okay, well, I'm going to take one of the oscillators and I'm going to assign it to open and close the bass. So it's going to modulate the bass. And what it's actually going to do is it will modulate it an octave below where the bass is playing. So if the bass is, for example, playing 200 cycles, this sub-oscillator is going to be turning it on and off, opening and closing the filter ever so slightly at 100 cycles. And it's going to make you think, yeah, that the bass is fluttering, but the bass is not fluttering at all. There's no, it's not the same amount impact of bass or cost of bass, because like Adam said, the problem with so many mixes is that there's just so much bass, and a lot of the power of speakers goes into replicating the bass, and when there's too much information in the bass, your top is going to sound awful and brittle and tinny and crap because all the power is going into the bass. Whereas if you do stuff like this, and you add a frequency that isn't actually there, you get a really cool effect. So just saying that again, you have your synth sound or whatever, you take a 1 octave lower and you feed that into the filter. So the filter is going to open and close 1 octave below what's being played, and it's going to make it sound like it's farting, and it's great. And another thing is if you can actually control that, send a controller to actually control that, so it might go boom, 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 etc. Brett, I see your hand.
So there's a band I've been listening to lately, Not My God. It's got the singer from Scold in it. What I've noticed about what they do with bass, especially on that, especially on their first song, at least on that album, is that bass is it comes in hot, and it's almost distorting. And then I was like, how in the world are they getting away with that in the mix? And it's subtle, but you can hear them back down off of that pressure while maintaining the note to allow the rest to come in. But it's just a very subtle thing, because when it comes in, it's like nothing else can. I mean, it's just like rumbling. I thought that was a neat trick as well to go along with what you were saying. They do a lot of neat stuff with bass and atonal instruments.
Can I also pick up on I see your hand, and I'm sorry. One of my favorite stories with bass destruction is from a band called The Faint. The Faint did an album called Dance Macabre, and if you haven't heard Dance Macabre, you have to listen to that album. It bought the vocoder back. It's brilliant. They did another one called, I don't remember what the hell it was called, but it was a few years ago. Great band. Seriously underestimated band. The Faint, whatever. So they did a thing where and they were one of the first bands to be a rock and roll band with a modular synth. And the way they used that stuff was so good. Anyway, they added frequencies to their bass by taking a bass speaker, like it was a 15-inch or something, cutting a big smiley face in the cone, literally cutting a hole in the cone, smashing an aluminium can, putting that aluminium can in it, so as it played, this can would flap around. And whether it was at the frequency or not, there is endless argument. It just went... and it's the best. And then they distorted it. And it is the best. It's so good. Like, shit like that is inspiring to me. And another thing is, like, having if you have a plate reverb or anything similar to a plate reverb, you put nails in it, you put gashes in it, you pierce it, and you fuck it up. And then you distort it. So all of this stuff is rattling, as the transistor moves the sheet metal. Like, that shit's exciting. Adam, I see your hand go.
Sure, cool. And if you like the Faint, you'll also love the presets. That's one that the Liar introduced me to way the hell back when, and they are putting out some of the most incredible stuff to this day. And in the 80s, we learned that Tim's Big Pumpin' Bass will make you dye your hair and make you change your ways. If you remember Shotgun Messiah with Tim Skold back in his glam rock days, baby. Yes. Believe it or not. Do you remember those guys? Does anybody remember Shotgun Messiah? Okay, yeah, there you go. The 80s rockers in the house. So one of the secrets to good minimal, right, is having space between your frequencies, and giving that bass really room to breathe, right? And so like what Carl was saying, I'm kind of got jamming thoughts right now, because what Carl was saying, the trick with carving the sub frequency below, that is gorgeous, and the math for that is the same way that the Bassmax works, right? So if you have, you have an A, it's 110, right? And that you can hear very, very, very well. And at 55, that's an A also, but that has a harmonic frequency at 110 and then at 165 and then at 220. But the 110 one has a harmonic at 220 and then 440 and so on, because the harmonics double, right? And that's how we know which octave it's in, is because it's always a doubled frequency. So like A is 55, it's 110, it's 220, it's 440. But it's not 330, right? And so the way that Bassmax works is, what it does is it fills in those artificial frequencies, so you're getting that A even lower, but it's creating the doubles all the way through that thing. So instead of there actually being a tone at 55, it's got the harmonic at 110, 165, 220, 285, and so on. And it tricks your brain into thinking it's there because all the harmonics are there that you can hear.
Awesome.
And that's the math.
That's good math. I have a preset story, but maybe not. If anybody else has anything mind-blowingly amazing to say, or not, or new things, because I'm feeling we might wrap this up soon, because it's been a very good hour and a half. And remember, there's a show tonight, and I'm playing at 8 o'clock LA time, and it's going to be like 5 bags of amazing. 5 bags of amazing, and that actually brings me to a really, really important question I've always asked my whole life. Hold on, I'm going to put this in here. Go, tonight. 15-year anniversary of Crunkhouse. Boom. And I'm giving away Crunkhouse on Bandcamp while we play the live. So, I've always wondered in Baba Black Sheep, one for the master, because it's 3 bags and they're full of wool. And one's for the master, one's for the dame. and one's for the little boy who lives down the lane. Who is this little boy? And why does he get a third? Why does he get a third cut? Anybody ever want to ask about this? Maybe this is for another time.
They're a royal family?
He's a little boy who lives down the lane, not the daunting prince who lives in the castle with the dukes and duchesses. He's
Well, maybe his father made him
No, Brett. Maybe his father didn't. Maybe there's something dark going on here that we need to talk about. I suspect he's the drug. He's a drug pimp or a pimp.
Maybe he's the pimpy.
It could be.
He's the dark god.
Yeah, that's Cthulhu Rising.
Okay.
So I played a gig with the Presets in Sydney in, my God, the late 90s, early 2000s. In a big, huge bondage castle, and they were. It was a really good night, and this is when I was in Jekyll Switch, and it was great show, and it was great because Presets and Jekyll Switch, we were invited because these two bands in Sydney, they're gonna go somewhere. They were right about one of them, but if you ever get a chance to check out Jekyll Switch, it's bloody amazing. But I remember they were really nice guys, but I remember watching them play, and I was thinking, shit, this is so, because it was a guy on an SH2 synth, the singer, and the drummer. That was it. And they bought it. And there was no backing track. That's what it was. And I was so impressed. And I think actually one of my synths got used on the one with My People on it. Yeah, I think that's what, I think might be my Jupiter 8. I'm not sure, because the guy that fixes synths in Sydney was looking after my Jupiter 8 at the time, and I think that's my synth. I don't know. That's hearsay. But anyway, it's all about experimentation, and that's what's important. Oh, and they didn't talk to me or anything, so I don't have any cool name-dropping thing. I was just on the side of the stage going, oh yeah, they're really good.
A huge fan of just taking presets and ripping them to shreds. And just to see what they sound like.
Hold on, I'm talking about the band.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, check out the band. The band's really good.
You'll rip them to shreds too, I don't know.
No, they're great. They are very fascinating because they take electronic music and they pushed it past what the genre expected from them. And they injected a whole bunch of really curious tracks. They have a track called, My People. My People's insane. Really, really good track. And it's also, when you look at the way that track is, like the arrangement of the track, what happens, when it happens, what comes in, what doesn't come in, it's very good. It is a very, very, very good piece of music. I have nothing else to say. The castle. I know it was it wasn't the castle in. I'm just reading the comments. It wasn't the castle in Florida. It was in Sydney. It may have been called the castle. I don't remember, but it was on Oxford Street. For those who care. I'm going to wrap it up unless anybody has any last minute questions or anything else. Oh, and before I do wrap it up, I will make a reminder. Next Thursday, Blade Runner Day. I'm doing a live jam, and it's going to be really excellent, and I hate my computer with more gusto than I can talk about right now. It's going to be bloody amazing, and I'm really excited about it. I am just going to go into La La Land and evoke the Abramelin, which is the most evil of all evils in soundscapes, and it's going to be really good fun. I see your hand, Brett.
I got a quick non-musical question.
Shoot.
How come it kind of looks like you're in a fishbowl?
Because I have a fisheye lens on my camera.
Is that what I'm seeing for the light reflections too?
Yes. I can get rid of them, but I don't want to because they're like ethereal.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
It's flooding past my face.
I just kind of been wondering about that. I was like, is that purpose or what?
Too much, man. Too much.
This is ground control to Major Carl.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, these are great. It was like really cheap, and you can just get them and stick them on there. that.
Gotcha.
And it's got all different, like it's got a kaleidoscope one as well. But
Okay.
that's way too trippy. I can't do the kaleidoscope. It's like, oh no. I can't.
Fair enough. I was just curious. I mean, it looks cool on video and not, because you always talk about your studio looking like a wrecked spaceship, and it kind of looks like you're looking in the window.
Yeah. Go there. It's all about that wrecked spaceship.
That's right.
It is all about the wrecked spaceship. Okay, I have no other questions. And remember, this time, 9 a.m. LA time, every Sunday we're going to do this. And guys, thank you again for joining me here. I'm going to do one final plug before I bail, before we zoom on over. But yeah, you guys keep me going, and we're all keeping each other going, because this is a mighty important time, and you got to keep making your music, because my God, we need music, because shit's about to hit the fan in the United States. Right now, we're going to twitch on over. We're going to raid over to MTV TV. And there's a non-stop fantasticness going. And later today, definitely check out Temple Festival. Are you guys live streaming that? Are you hosting that one?
We did on Friday, and my thought was to do that again tonight as well.
Right.
Kind of missed doing it on the channel yesterday. That was my fault, but had a lot going on with my own show and everything yesterday. But so DJ Loki is going to be on pretty soon, and I was going to pop that onto my own channel as well. And I think it's a pretty good day to do that. So Diana, you had said that Virtual Temple started early today because somebody had some tech problems last night. So is it running? It's running right now. Then instead of raiding to MTV TV, why don't we just raid straight over to Virtual Temple? And I'm gonna host Virtual Temple on MTV TV for the duration here, and we'll kick MTV TV back up at the end of the show.
Awesome. Let's raid. We're raiding. So if you're watching on Twitch, if you're not watching on Twitch, the link is there for Twitch TV. That's Virtual Temple. And we're all going to go over there now. And guys, once again, thank you. I really enjoy these sessions. And I'm going to make this session live because it's gone to YouTube. I'm going to make it live very shortly. And there's a word from my sponsor. You rock. Wave.
Thanks again.